applications they would place on this.
Do you have any other report?
No, sir. That's tour on Monday.
I just think our legal counsel.
The superintendent, working with the Mr. John D. Clayton, was surprising.
The purpose of the report, survey, is to analyze
Help in that report. Moody's and Standard & Poor's had read and digested part of the Moody's. He said,
easily divided into 9 the other.
Well, actually, it was a very unusual game. We weren't really playing that well in the game to score 31 points in 3 quarters. It was a lot what San Diego was doing early and giving us turnovers and field position, and we felt very comfortable at that particular level. But the thing that happened to us was a hail started hitting, and we found out that we weren't quite as ready as we thought we were. And when that happens to you, it's very hard to put out the fire, and we had a lot of difficulty doing it, really. And the only thing was happening was that they were just starting to play football, and we hadn't been really playing that good of football the whole game.
Coach, have you reached the point where you're really concerned about your defense now, having given up so many points in the last 3 games?
Well, I think we're at the point in the season where we have to be concerned. Regardless, I have a lot of confidence in our defensive team, the people who play back there, and I feel like they're going to come back strong. But you got to have it in the back of your mind when you give up as many points as we have in 2 or 3 games. We can't afford that. If we lose one now, we're in real trouble, and we just can't afford it.
Coach, do you think the team plays better under pressure? You said that last year's success was due to the fact that you knew you had to win every game.
Well, I think this team will play good under pressure. I think when they recognize the pressure is there, then they'll play very well. And right now, they haven't yet recognized that the pressure's there, and sooner or later, we're going to have to do that.
It'll be the first time in 2 or 3 years I've been in a stock car, and the first time I ever drove a stock car was interesting. It was at Daytona Beach in 1963, I guess it was. I drove for Smokey Yunick down there, and had the good fortune of having one of the best cars in the field, and set a new track record and closed course record for stock cars, and won one of the 100-mile qualifying heats. So that being the first time in a stock car, I've always kind of enjoyed stock car racing on super speedways. It's quite a departure from the Indianapolis car because the Indy car is very agile and light, quick reacting, and it's what I run the most and know the most about. And stock car racing is a little different and should be quite interesting for me.
What interesting, I guess, in terms of what you're going to be driving. What are you going to be in?
Well, if that, as you say, is an interesting point. The car is fondly known around NASCAR circles as the Rent-A-Ford. A fellow by the name of Don Levy from over in Virginia built the car. It has a very good record, a fantastic record, inasmuch as the car is made available to various promoters around the country at different tracks, NASCAR tracks, to put in the local favorite or a top driver to help promote the race and to bring people in or whatever.
Phillip Lewis is one of the 3 men who originally began the idea of planning progress only after consulting the environment. He's just completed a fantastically complicated study of Dallas County, working as a consultant to the city of Dallas to guide builders in how they'll affect the ecosystems of where they plan to build. And just as important, Lewis says the computerized maps will tell builders how the environment will affect them. For example, he told me, some kinds of soil hold water so well they crumble under heavy buildings. It takes hours to explain the significance of the study, but I asked Dr. Lewis to tell me as simply as he could what the study will do.
Now, working here with the planning department in Dallas, we're trying to store 34 some major natural system patterns in a computer so that we can begin to determine where all of these various patterns are located. Now, if we can identify that this pattern is most dangerous in terms of urban encroachment, we can begin to suggest that development should be located in this area. Well, adding up all of these various patterns, we've come up with a major overview of Dallas County showing that growth could occur here without encroaching upon the natural open space systems, the ecological features, without encroaching upon the outstanding soil or geological formations that would create these massive costs to society. So really what we're attempting to do is to identify on a countywide basis these important patterns as form determinants to guide the growth here rather than on these exceptional ecological systems or patterns that are a threat to the public.
For the better part of the past summer, I have been periodically bombarded with reports that something spectacular was about to happen to the north end of downtown Fort Worth. People who just kept talking like they knew just kept dropping little tidbits of information, saying something big was going to happen here. I suppose you could call them rumors, but these people weren't the gossipy sort. And yet I just couldn't bring myself to believe that even as dynamic and progressive an organization as the Tandy Corporation would tear down a landmark like the Leonard's complex to build a 7-block, 50-story skyscraping monolith.
Well, I can't argue like
Thank you, sir.
Now, what can we do to help you?
Well, we're doing pretty good, but I would just like to know why now in Michigan and Dixie I think fourth grade.
In the 4th grade, arithmetic. Let's take arithmetic. We have
Of course, Tandy does own a significant portion of this end of town, the Leonard's complex and whatnot, so I conned and cajoled and entreated every source I could think of with every gadget in the bag of tricks. Among the things I cannot confirm is that the project will be completed within 3 years, that it will cost $70 million, that it will include everything from offices to an ice rink, and that the old Leonard subway will be extended 2 more blocks. Among the things that I have confirmed are that the project is well beyond the talking stage. Municipal officials in Fort Worth know about it. They've been sworn to a pledge of secrecy, which they are honoring to a man. The structure will contain a sizable new hotel. It will involve 7 blocks of downtown Fort Worth Tandy property, and it will probably average closer to 5 than 50 stories in altitude. Tandy Corporation, of course, still isn't talking, but Fort Worth can reasonably expect some very exciting news on the subject in the very near future. Jerry Taff, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Well, what we had hoped we would be successful doing, Rosser, is in separating our nominees on a state and local basis from the national and running them on their own merits. And rather than tying them with the national ticket, we got that national ticket hung around our neck, and we just were not able to shake it in all of the races. Every time you would get into any kind of a political gathering, McGovern kept coming up. And that's different from the state statute that requires those participating in the primary to support the nominees of that primary. Now, the national ticket was not running in our primary, and therefore the statute didn't require them to support the national nominee, but the McGovern rules did. Those rules need to be changed before next convention go around, not because only of that pledge, but because of the tight rules we have, the percentage representation, and permitting someone like McGovern to be nominated who can't carry more than one state. So over here we have the soil patterns, and we've identified these various soil patterns, and then we've transferred it into the grid system, and then we can store those critical patterns into a computer printout.
What looks to be a not too suitable area for building.
This is your flip plan. So we're trying to determine the patterns, where not to build. Here's another case. This is the whole region here, where we have underneath Dallas the Trinity Sands. That's called an aquifer that has. Now where this formation comes out.
Because of a smuggled lock full of weapons, a Dallas County jailer was shot last night in an abortive jailbreak. Someone late at night stuffed a small pocket knife and a small caliber pistol into a sock that was attached to a string. Then a prisoner upstairs knocked out a jail window and pulled the petty arsenal up into his cell. So as Deputy Arthur Pickering and another jailer were leading 2 inmates out of the maximum security cell on 6th floor, one of the prisoners pulled out the smuggled pistol. Both deputies lunged for the weapon. Pickering was gunned down and left bleeding in the cell block while 30 other prisoners swarmed into the hallways. 6 tried to escape by the stairway as Sheriff Clarence Jones, leading a troop of deputies, stormed the jail and secured the building. The prisoners retreated back to their cell block, and Pickering was taken to Parkland Hospital. He's in fair condition tonight. 7 of the would-be escapees were hustled into patrol cars and later arraigned on investigation of attempted escape, assault to murder, and 6 as ex-convicts carrying a pistol. Today, Sheriff Clarence Jones told me that although his deputies are trying to crack down on weapons smuggling, that's not the real problem with jailbreaks. Majority of people?
All of them, but one were on appeal that was involved in this last night.
The sheriff says that with a total of 1,700 prisoners in both jails, you'd have to station shotgun guards at every cell to keep the prisoners from wanting to escape. But he says with less inmates for the jailers to worry about, the chances of violent jailbreaks would considerably decrease. Martha McIntire, Channel 8 News on the Move.